This video brought to you in association with Amazon.com, your one-stop shop for all things Miami Dolphins, NFL, and much, much more. Links in the description. I try my best never to directly address articles or videos because I feel it's a bastardization of what I'm trying to do here. But then again, I'm on YouTube, so how much integrity can I really have? Either way, I came across an article from Jason Owens of Yahoo Sports that was detailing why Ryan Fitzpatrick should not be the Week 1 starter for the Dolphins. First and foremost, he claims the Dolphins aren't competitive, citing a ranking from fellow Yahoo writer Frank Schwab. I'm not really sure when Yahoo Sports became the authority on that, but I guess it's at least nice to see that their writers support each other. He follows that up by stating that head coach Brian Flores' statement that it was clear to him that Fitzpatrick was leading the way in the quarterback competition was baffling, submitting his own thoughts on the matter, which went as follows. The problem here isn't that Fitzpatrick is outperforming Rosen, it's that he's being considered for the job to begin with. Why? While it's true that figuring out what they have in Josh Rosen is a priority, they should also be concerned about not repeating the same mistakes the Cardinals made last year. In 2018, Josh Rosen completed 55% of his passes. He threw 10 touchdowns to 13 interceptions and was sacked 45 times. There were many factors that went into that, of course, but chief among them was a non-existent offensive line, questionable play calling by an offensive coordinator that was fired mid-season, and the fact that after having 3 different offensive coordinators in college, he's now on his 4th since joining the NFL. Let's not forget that Fitzpatrick had a head start learning the offense. So yes, he's ahead of Rosen. Fitzpatrick was the plan before Josh Rosen was even a possibility. And it's not like a decision needs to be made on Rosen right away. He's signed for 2 years, so he could always be the bridge next year if need be. Fitzpatrick was signed initially because at the very least it guarantees a couple of games should be fun to watch. Now he leads the quarterback competition and should be the Week 1 starter because there's no reason to rush Rosen out onto the field. He'll get his opportunity when he's ready, or when Fitz relinquishes the starting job with bad play, which he will. Rushing Rosen into action will only serve to continue the cycle that brought him to South Beach in the first place, and ultimately would see him off somewhere else within the next 2 years. And as far as tanking goes, how sold is everyone on Tua anyways? Not to diminish his efforts, because he has certainly earned his clout, but let's not act like he's not coming from a roster full of NFL talent. In the 2019 NFL Draft, Alabama saw 10 of their players get drafted. The previous year, they saw a record 12 get drafted. And of course, we have to call into question Saban's record of producing quarterbacks. While I acknowledge that Nick Saban is a defensive-minded coach and coaching up quarterbacks is not his direct responsibility, it's worth noting that he acts as the constant for the team, the sense of stability. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, you've probably heard at least one person refer to Alabama as the Patriots of college football, in the sense that they have a roster and a staff that is constantly turning over, with players and coaches coming in and going out. Offensive coordinators rarely stick around for more than a season before getting hired elsewhere. Brian Daboll, who was the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach in 2017, was hired to be the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills in 2018. Mike Locksley, who replaced Daboll in 2018, left in 2019 to become the head coach at the University of Maryland. The one constant at Alabama through all of that has been Nick Saban. If you're not familiar with Saban's record of producing NFL quarterbacks, that's okay, because I've taken the liberty of tracking them down so you don't have to. Now, he's had a number of them stretched across a couple of schools, but for the sake of this exercise, we'll only be looking at Alabama quarterbacks that came out during Saban's tenure. Starting with John Parker Wilson. In the 2 seasons Wilson played for Saban, he played in 27 games, completing 442 passes out of 785 attempts for 5,119 yards, 28 touchdowns, 20 interceptions, and a completion percentage of 56%. Despite leaving Alabama holding every significant passing record in school's history, he went undrafted in the 2009 NFL Draft. He would be on 3 different teams over the next 4 years before ultimately finding himself out of football. After him came Greg McElroy. McElroy was very successful in college, finishing with 5,691 yards, 39 touchdowns to 10 interceptions, and a completion percentage of 65.8%. He led the Crimson Tide to a championship game, yet was selected in the 7th round of the 2011 NFL Draft by the New York Jets. After working his way up the depth chart to become Mark Sanchez's backup, also after Tim Tebow was sidelined with a rib injury, yeah, that was a thing, he was swiftly beat down behind New York's horrid offensive line that saw this man get sacked 11 times in 2 games. And he would end up injuring his thumb and concussion, all that stuff. Afterwards, the Jets released him and he spent a season on the Bengals practice squad before hanging up his cleats the following year. Following him was A.J. McCarron, whom led the Crimson Tide to back-to-back national championships and graduated as the school's career leader in passing yardage, completions, and touchdowns. He went on to be drafted in the 5th round of the 2014 NFL Draft by the Cincinnati Bengals, where he backed up Andy Dalton for 4 seasons before filing and winning a grievance allowing him to become an unrestricted free agent as opposed to letting the Bengals trade him to the Browns. He ended up with the Buffalo Bills, competing against Nathan Peterman and Josh Allen until being sidelined by an injury. He would get traded to Oakland. He was released when the new season started and is currently on Houston's roster, not participating in the preseason because of a thumb injury. After him came Blake Sims, who had 4 stops in 4 different leagues without sticking. And then Jake Coker, who lasted all of 1 preseason in the NFL with the Arizona Cardinals. So Nick Saban and Alabama don't have a great track record, at least recently, of producing NFL caliber quarterbacks. Which begs the question, if the plan is to tank for the best possible quarterback prospect, wouldn't it make more sense to tank next year? Forget tank for Tua, it should be hashtag tank for Trevor. That being Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence. He's the guy being called a once-in-a-generation type talent, the guy who claimed the starting job and won a national championship as a freshman. That's the guy. While admittedly, Dabo Swinney's record of producing NFL-ready quarterbacks is similar to Nick Saban's, with both of them having a single former quarterback currently active in the NFL. Swinney has the edge, however, as his is a starter. I speak, of course, of Deshaun Watson, who is currently the starting quarterback for the Houston Texans, the team that ironically signed A.J. McCarron. Not to mention, Tua and Trevor are not the only 2 quarterbacks coming out in the next 2 seasons. Take a look. There are quite a few people who are already suggesting will go to the NFL, and every season produces a couple surprises nobody saw coming. And finally, if we can get back on subject, it's not like Fitzpatrick is going to be the starter for most of or even half the year. In Tampa Bay last year, he was on fire for 3 weeks before crashing back down to earth. Not to mention, Miami's schedule opens like this: Ravens, Patriots, Cowboys in Dallas, and Chargers. To me, Week 5 seems like an ideal spot to drop Rosen in. A home game against a seemingly cursed Redskins team. By that point, the Ryan Fitzpatrick roller coaster will have expectations back down, and Rosen can ease his way in, which is an opportunity he has not been afforded up until this point. Even when he was in Arizona, although he didn't start the season, his first NFL action came when he was inserted into a close game against Chicago with a little over 4 minutes left. He completed 4 of 7 for 36 yards and 1 interception. If Miami truly wishes to see what they have in Rosen, they have to put him in the best position to succeed. Rushing him out will not do that. If they feel Fitzpatrick has a better grasp of the offense, or he just looks better in it, let him play. He will eventually burn out. Fitz magic never lasts. In fact, it usually runs out right about the time when it's expected of him. Last year, his collapse happened right after Jameis returned from his suspension, and Fitz was named the starter regardless. Because suddenly, when there was a threat of a more talented quarterback behind him, and the expectations were there that he was going to throw for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, he shrank back into Ryan Fitzpatrick. Sometimes I think he's doing it on purpose. Ryan Fitzpatrick has a net worth of $18 million. Not bad for a career backup. I mean, he's a Harvard guy, allegedly super smart, holds the record for the highest score on the Wonderlic test. So for y'all that think the Wonderlic test will determine who will be a good quarterback, Exhibit A. But what do y'all think? Who should be Miami's Week 1 starter? Which quarterback prospects should they be targeting, if any at all? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to peruse the fan shop on Amazon because every purchase you make through one of my links helps this channel. Of course, the best way to help is to like, subscribe, and ding the bell so that you are the first to know when the new videos drop. If you'd like to see more, please check out some of my other videos on the left, tell your friends, and thanks for watching.